They say your mind is your greatest weapon, but what if I told you it's also your greatest enemy? Every day it whispers, it argues, it negotiates with your potential, and most of the time it wins, not because you're weak, but because your mind has been trained by repetition, by fear, by your past, to protect your comfort, not your growth. Think about it. You don't decide your future, you decide your habits. And your habits decide your future. Every time you hit snooze, every time you choose distraction over discipline, every time you believe that quiet voice that says, "I'll do it later," you are strengthening a pattern, a mental loop, a silent code that shapes your destiny. That's how most people live, prisoners of their own programming, sir. Not because they lack talent or ambition, but because they never stop to reprogram the system. But here's the truth. The mind is not fixed. It's not a machine built once and left to rust. It's alive. It rewires itself every single day based on what you feed it, what you do, what you think, what you repeat. And that means you hold the power to upgrade, to evolve, to change everything. You don't need to wait for a miracle or motivation or a perfect Monday. You just need to start with one small, consistent, intentional habit. Because that's how rewiring works. Not in one grand leap, but in 1,000 silent repetitions. This is not another feel-good audiobook. It's a blueprint, a psychological re-engineering of your daily life. So you can break free from autopilot and live by design, not by default. We'll explore 10 powerful habits. Not flashy hacks, but timeless principles that will sharpen your focus, strengthen your emotions, and build unstoppable confidence from within. Each habit is a key, and by the time we're done, you'll have 10 keys to unlock the version of you that's been buried under excuses, fear, and distraction. So, if you're ready to stop reacting, if you're ready to start creating, then welcome. This is the beginning of your mental reset, your blueprint for a stronger mind, your invitation to step into power, purpose, and peace. Because you can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how your mind interprets it. And when you master that, you don't just change your mindset, you change your entire life. Welcome to 10 positive habits that will rewire your mindset. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The habit of self-awareness. Seeing before changing. You can't change what you don't understand. And you can't understand what you refuse to see. Most people rush to fix their lives, to hustle harder, to stay busy, to appear successful, but few stop long enough to watch themselves. Self-awareness is the first habit of transformation. Because before you can rewire your mind, you must first meet the one running the system. Pause for a moment. Really think about it. How often do you observe your thoughts instead of obeying them? How often do you notice the patterns in your own reactions? The subtle emotional reflexes that trigger your choices, your tone, your energy? The truth is, your life is a mirror. Every emotion, every setback, every conflict is reflecting what's happening inside of you. Yet most people spend their lives trying to clean the mirror, instead of changing the face staring back. When you wake up and scroll through your phone, that's not random, that's programming. When you feel anxious every time you're alone, that's conditioning. When you avoid challenges because you fear failure, that's habit. And the first step to rewiring your mind is not judgment but observation. Become the scientist of your own thoughts, the watcher of your emotional weather. Notice when you shrink, when you resist, when you lie to yourself to stay comfortable. That awareness is the light that reveals the code. See, your brain doesn't work with words, It works with repetition and emotion. So when you keep reacting the same way to the same situations, you're writing the same software. And every time you notice the pattern and choose differently, even once, you begin to rewrite it. That's the power of awareness. It turns unconscious reactions into conscious responses. It gives you space, the sacred pause between stimulus and choice. That pause is where growth lives. That pause is where your power begins. But awareness requires honesty, the kind that stings a little. You'll have to admit that some of your stress isn't from circumstances. It's from the stories you tell yourself. That your lack of motivation isn't about opportunity. It's about distraction and doubt fighting for control of your attention. You'll see how much energy you waste explaining your limitations instead of expanding your possibilities. And when you start noticing, you'll be shocked at how often your mind tries to drag you back into comfort. How it disguises fear as logic, laziness as taking a break, and procrastination as waiting for the right time. Awareness reveals these lies. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It's the quiet moment when you catch yourself mid-scroll and realize, I'm escaping again. It's the subtle ache when you recognize, I'm living on autopilot. The more you listen, the louder the truth becomes. And that truth is your foundation. Every master of the mind, from Stoic philosophers to modern neuroscientists, agrees on this. Transformation begins with observation. The mind you watch changes. The thought you question loses control. The pattern you name starts to dissolve. So here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, don't try to fix anything. Just watch. Watch how you react when someone interrupts you. Notice your breathing when you feel overwhelmed. Listen to the tone in your own voice when you speak to yourself. Don't analyze, don't judge, just observe. Because before you master your habits, you must first master your awareness. You'll start to notice moments of choice, tiny forks in the road where your old self wants to react. But your new self just notices. That's where the rewiring begins. That's the spark of power you've been missing. You see, awareness doesn't just change how you think, it changes who you are. Because once you start seeing the real you, the one beneath the masks, beneath the fear, beneath the noise, you can never go back to being blind. And when you see clearly, you start to realize something profound. You were never truly lost. You were just distracted. You were never powerless. You just hadn't paused long enough to meet your own mind. So before we move to the next habit, remember this. Awareness is not a step in the journey. It is the journey. Every moment you see yourself truthfully, you reclaim control from your old programming. And that control, that quiet mastery, is how you begin to win the inner battles before they even start. Chapter 2. The habit of focus and clarity. Protecting your inner signal, there's a moment after awakening, when the noise feels louder than ever, when awareness makes you see everything, the distractions, the chaos, the people pulling at your attention, like magnets. And suddenly you realize, you've been living surrounded by static. Focus is not about doing more, it's about doing less, with intention. Because in this world, the greatest threat to your growth is not failure, it's fragmentation. Every notification, every opinion, every digital whisper is designed to scatter you, to stretch your attention so thin that you forget who you are. And here's the truth. You can't build an extraordinary life with a divided mind. Focus is the new luxury. Clarity is the new wealth. Most people aren't tired because they're working too hard. They're tired because they're mentally leaking energy everywhere. They give pieces of their focus to things that don't matter, and wonder why they feel empty at the end of the day. But when you decide to protect your attention, something changes. You stop chasing everything and start choosing what deserves your energy. That's the power of focus. It's not loud, it's quiet. It's the silence that says, not everything deserves a reaction. You begin to understand that clarity isn't something you find. It's something you create by saying no, by turning off the noise, by allowing stillness to do its work. You can't see your reflection in a stormy river. You have to let the water settle. And that's what focus is. The discipline of stilling the mind long enough to see what truly matters. The world teaches speed, but mastery comes from depth, because when your attention is scattered, you lose the essence of your power. Think about it. Every genius, every creator, every great leader, they all share one thing in common. They learned how to direct their mind like a laser. While everyone else moved like smoke, they became fire. But here's what most people get wrong about focus. They think it's about grinding harder. It's not. It's about alignment. Focus means asking yourself, what am I building? What is worth my energy? What will still matter in 5 years? If you can answer that with honesty, your clarity becomes unshakable. Without clarity, you'll mistake movement for progress. You'll confuse busyness with purpose. You'll chase every shiny thing and call it ambition, but never build anything that lasts. The truth is, your mind is an instrument, and every instrument needs tuning. If you let noise fill your head long enough, you'll start to believe it's your own voice. That's why silence is sacred. In silence, your real priorities whisper. In silence, your intuition speaks. Clarity is born there. In those moments where you unplug, breathe, and just be. That's not laziness. That's mental maintenance. Every morning, before you reach for your phone, ask yourself this. What deserves my attention today? And don't just answer with a to-do list. Answer with intention. Because every time you give focus to the right thing, you train your mind to serve your future instead of your impulses. But this discipline comes with resistance. You'll feel it, that restless itch when you try to sit still. Your brain will crave noise, stimulation, distraction. That's your programming fighting to stay in control. Breathe through it. Don't run from it. You're not losing your edge by slowing down. You're sharpening it. Because clarity is a weapon, and only a focused mind can use it. You see, the difference between average and exceptional isn't intelligence, it's direction. An unfocused genius will lose to a focused beginner every single time. Because consistency beats intensity, depth beats speed, presence beats performance. The moment you begin to guard your attention like treasure, you start to feel different, calmer, sharper, lighter. You stop chasing validation because you're finally aligned with your own vision. That's when your creativity flows. That's when confidence blooms. That's when your actions start to carry weight. You realize that life isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things well. So learn to say no. Not out of arrogance, but out of focus. Learn to turn off the world long enough to hear your own rhythm again. And remember this, every time you say yes to something meaningless, you say no to your purpose. Clarity isn't something you wait for, it's something you choose. So choose to unplug, choose to listen, choose to focus. Because the mind that can't focus can't build. And the mind that can't build can't lead. And you were meant to lead. Not by shouting louder, but by standing still in a world that forgot how. The day you master your focus is the day you begin to control your destiny. Chapter 3. The Habit of Discipline and Emotional Consistency. Discipline is not fire, it's ice. It doesn't roar. It doesn't rush. It moves slow, deliberate, like a river cutting through stone. Everyone wants success when it's romantic, when it's new, when it's easy, when the music is still loud. But discipline begins when the music stops, when the excitement fades, when no one is watching, when the world doesn't clap for your effort. That's when real growth begins. You see, success isn't built in moments of energy, it's built in moments of consistency. Discipline is the bridge between your intention and your reality. It's the force that drags your dreams out of your head and forces them to exist in the world. But here's what most people get wrong. They treat discipline like punishment, like something harsh, something joyless. They think discipline means cutting out all pleasure. It doesn't. Discipline is self-respect in motion. It's saying, I deserve better than my excuses. I'm not waiting for motivation. I'm building momentum. Motivation is fragile. It burns bright and dies fast. Discipline, though? Discipline is the fire that never goes out. Because discipline isn't about how you feel. It's about what you commit to doing regardless of how you feel. When you train your emotions to obey your intentions, you become unstoppable. The truth is, your emotions are not your enemy. They're your compass. But if you let them lead you, they'll take you in circles. You can feel fear and still move. You can feel doubt and still act. That's what emotional consistency is. It's not about being happy all the time. It's about showing up the same, no matter what's happening inside. Think about it. Anyone can be disciplined when life is easy. But it's the days when your energy is low, your mind is tired, and your heart is uncertain. Those are the days that define you. That's where self-mastery begins. When you decide, I will not negotiate my standards based on how I feel. Because your emotions fluctuate, but your vision shouldn't. There will be days when your mind whispers, take a break, skip today. Rest, no one will notice, and maybe no one will. But you will. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust with it, and that trust becomes your power. Discipline is how you tell your future self, I've got you. Because the truth is, results don't belong to the talented. They belong to the consistent. Talent fades when it's not trained, but discipline compounds. It's the small actions, repeated daily, that quietly change the shape of your entire life. Every push-up, every page, every practice, they stack like invisible bricks. And one day you look back and realize you've built something solid. That's the paradox of discipline. It's boring in the moment, but magnificent in the result. People chase intensity, but it's your repetition that rewires you. You become what you repeat. Your habits sculpt your destiny in silence. Discipline is your vote for the future version of yourself. Every choice you make is a ballot, cast either for your progress or for your comfort. And here's what makes discipline so rare. It demands patience in a world addicted to immediacy. Everyone wants results. No one wants to wait, but patience. Patience is where transformation matures. When you work without seeing progress, that's when you're being tested. That's when you're being refined. Those invisible seasons, when it looks like nothing is changing, are where everything is changing. Because discipline isn't just about doing, it's about becoming. Every time you resist an old habit, you're not just improving your day, you're upgrading your identity. That's why it feels so hard sometimes. You're not fighting laziness, you're fighting your old self. And that's a battle that requires grace and grit. So don't romanticize discipline as perfection. It's not about never slipping, it's about never stopping. Fall forward, fail smarter, show up again. Cleaner, sharper, stronger. Consistency turns chaos into rhythm. Discipline turns struggle into structure. And structure That's what builds freedom. Because freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is being capable enough to choose what's right. And discipline gives you that capability. So stop waiting to feel ready. Rise. Freedomers. So stop writing. You won't. Start anyway. You don't need to be the most talented. You just need to be the most consistent. Because the world doesn't reward potential, it rewards persistence. Your dreams are not waiting for motivation, they're waiting for discipline. And every day you show up, even when no one sees you, you're not wasting effort. You're planting proof. Proof that you are capable. Proof that you are serious. Proof that you are becoming. One brick at a time. One choice at a time. One day at a time. That's how you build a legacy, not through bursts of brilliance, but through the quiet repetition of belief. They'll feel its results when you finally arrive. Chapter 4. The habit of self-control and emotional intelligence. Power isn't loud. It's quiet, controlled, precise. Real power is not in your ability to speak. It's in your ability to stay silent when silence serves you better. We live in a world addicted to reaction, a world that glorifies the first to respond, the loudest voice, the strongest opinion. But true strength, the kind that lasts, belongs to the person who pauses before they act, the one who breathes before they burn, who listens even when their ego screams to speak. That's self-control, the rare art of not giving every emotion the right to drive your life. See, emotions are natural. They rise, they crash, they twist. But wisdom begins when you learn to surf those waves. Instead of drowning in them, people will test you. Life will provoke you. You'll face moments that feel unfair, disrespectful, or overwhelming. And the instinct to react, to defend, to prove something. But here's the truth. When you react impulsively, you hand over your power. Every outburst, every argument, every emotional explosion. They drain your energy, your focus, your time. You don't owe the world your reaction. You owe yourself your peace. Self-control is not suppression, it's direction. It's not about burying your emotions, it's about mastering their use. When you can feel anger and still choose calm, that's not weakness, that's emotional power. When you can feel fear but still take action, that's not denial, that's courage. And when you can face disappointment and still stay composed, that's emotional maturity. Emotional intelligence isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally fluent. It's about understanding what you feel and responding with wisdom, not impulse. You see, your emotions are messengers. They're not commands. They come to inform you, not to control you. Anger tells you something feels unjust. Fear tells you something feels unsafe. Sadness tells you something needs to be released. But it's your response, your conscious choice, that determines whether you grow or break. When you start responding instead of reacting, you start leading instead of following. Most people live as slaves to their feelings. They wake up tired, so they treat the day like an enemy. They feel hurt, so they hurt others. They feel insecure, so they chase validation. But when you rise above emotion and choose response, you begin to master life instead of surviving it. That's emotional intelligence, knowing your emotional weather, but never letting it dictate your season. Think of it this way: the calmest person in the room always has the most control. Because chaos feeds on chaos. If you don't feed it, it starves. Your silence confuses people who expected a fight. Your composure disarms those who wanted your chaos. And your peace becomes your power. It's easy to shout. It's easy to post. It's easy to rage. But it takes strength. Real, refined strength. To stay still, analyze, and choose your move with intention. That's the mark of someone rewired. Someone no longer driven by emotion, but guided by clarity. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's trained through repetition, reflection, and restraint. Every time you pause instead of react, you reprogram your nervous system. You teach your mind that calm is safe, not weakness. You teach your heart that not every feeling requires action. And you teach your spirit that not every battle deserves your energy. Because some things are better conquered in silence. Some victories are invisible. When you don't respond to disrespect, you protect your peace. When you don't justify yourself to doubters, you preserve your focus. And when you let go of needing to be understood, you free yourself from emotional slavery. That's what emotional intelligence looks like in practice. It's not just a skill, it's a posture. It's standing tall in the middle of emotional storms and choosing wisdom over ego. Imagine being the kind of person who can walk away from chaos without feeling small. The kind who can face conflict without needing control. That's real power. That's growth. And here's the secret. Emotional control and success are inseparable. Every great leader, every high performer, every visionary, they all share one thing: composure. Because composure keeps you thinking clearly while everyone else is drowning in noise. You can't make sound decisions in emotional chaos. You can't see opportunity through anger. You can't lead when you're reactive. That's why self-control is your greatest advantage. It makes you unpredictable, in the best way. People can't manipulate you if they can't provoke you. And that makes you powerful beyond measure. So practice the pause. Breathe before you speak. Feel before you act. Because in that pause, you find your wisdom. And in that wisdom, you find your strength. And when strength and wisdom move together, you become unshakable. So the next time someone pushes you, tries to pull you into their chaos, or tempts you to prove yourself, remember this: you don't need to attend every battle you're invited to. Protect your energy, guard your peace, and choose your silence like it's gold. Because sometimes, the loudest power in the room is the calm one who doesn't need to prove anything. That's emotional intelligence in motion. That's how you rewire your mind. That's how you win, quietly, intentionally, and completely. Chapter 5. The Habit of Focus and Deep Work. Focus. It's the rarest currency of our time. In an age where attention is the new gold, everyone wants yours. Your phone, your notifications, your endless scrolling feed. All engineered to fracture your mind into 1,000 directions. And the tragedy? Most people never notice they've lost it. They confuse movement with progress, activity with achievement. But the truth is, the more distracted you are, the less powerful your mind becomes. Because a distracted mind is a divided mind. And divided minds rarely build anything lasting. You see, success isn't built on speed. It's built on depth. It's not about how much you do, but how deeply you can focus on what truly matters. When you give your full attention to one task, you enter a different state, a deeper one. The noise fades, the world slows, and for a moment you touch mastery. That's deep work, the kind of focus that rewires your brain for excellence, where you're not just doing, you're becoming. But most people will never reach that state because they're too busy reacting to everything that demands their attention. Their mornings start with other people's priorities, texts, emails, endless content. Before they even breathe, they're pulled in 10 directions. And the cost? Peace, creativity, clarity. The most valuable things in life come from silence and focus, not noise and reaction. Great thinkers, inventors, creators, leaders, they all shared one thing in common. They built worlds inside their minds before the world ever saw their results. They protected their focus like oxygen, because they knew once your attention is gone, your potential goes with it. Ask yourself, when was the last time you spent an hour alone, completely immersed in a single task, without checking your phone, without looking for validation, without escaping into distractions? Most people can't do it anymore. They crave stimulation. Dopamine hits from scrolling, instant replies, constant noise. But here's the truth. Focus is a muscle, and most people have let theirs atrophy. You train it by doing one thing deeply. Reading without skipping, writing without stopping, working without multitasking. And yes, it feels uncomfortable at first, because silence feels foreign. But in that silence, you find your power. When you master focus, you master time. You compress hours of distraction into moments of precision. And that's how you begin to separate yourself from the average. The average mind chases everything. The focused mind builds empires. Deep work isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters better. It's about going all in. Not halfway, not distracted, not split between tabs and thoughts. It's a discipline, a ritual, a form of self-respect. When you sit down to work and silence everything else, you're telling your mind, this matters, this deserves my energy, this deserves my best. You're declaring to yourself, I'm not built for noise, I'm built for greatness. Focus gives meaning to your efforts. It turns scattered effort into targeted energy. And when your energy is targeted, it becomes unstoppable. But to reach this level, you must first fight the addiction to distraction. Because distraction is not harmless, it's a slow erosion of your willpower. Every time you switch tasks, your brain pays a tax. Every notification, every scroll, every mindless check drains the energy you need to do real work. So what do? You create sacred focus zones. Moments where your mind knows, this is the time to build. It could be an hour each morning. It could be late at night when the world goes quiet. The time doesn't matter. The intention does. You disconnect from the noise and reconnect to purpose. No notifications, no interruptions, no excuses. Just you, your thoughts, and your craft. That's where clarity is born. That's where ideas evolve. That's where excellence is created. Because here's the paradox. Focus feels slow, but it makes you fast. While others rush through 10 things and finish none, you move with precision, completing one thing that truly matters. And that one thing, it moves your life forward more than 10 half-finished distractions ever could. Focus isn't glamorous. It's quiet, repetitive, even lonely sometimes. But it's in those hours of solitude that legacies are built. Because while the world chases attention, you're building intention. And when intention compounds, it becomes unstoppable momentum. Your work becomes sharper. Boshus pulsades derhus munnen. Futazasas zistasasastas. Fate zit. Your results clearer. Your life simpler. You start to notice that you no longer crave validation because the work itself gives you satisfaction. You don't need applause when your focus becomes your fulfillment. And slowly your mind rewires. You begin to crave the deep, not the quick. The meaningful, not the viral. The progress, not the noise. You start to move differently, think differently, work differently. You become the person who gets things done. Not because you work harder, but because you work deeper. And that's what the world respects, the quiet doers, the invisible grinders, the focused few who build what others only dream of. So from this moment, protect your focus. Guard it like it's gold, because it is. Silence the noise. Create boundaries. Be ruthless about your attention. Because your focus is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become. Every time you sit down to do deep work, you're building that bridge a little stronger. You're carving your path, one focused hour at a time, and someday people will call you lucky, not realizing it was focus, not fortune, that got you there. That's the habit of deep work. That's how you rise. Chapter 6. The habit of gratitude and perspective. The mind sees what it's trained to see, and for most people, it's been trained to see lack. They wake up counting what's missing: money, time, love, validation. They live like something's always wrong, like happiness is waiting on the other side of more. But here's the truth most people never realize. Gratitude doesn't come after fulfillment. Fulfillment comes after gratitude. You can have everything and still feel empty if your eyes are tuned only to what's missing. But if your eyes are tuned to what's present, even the smallest moment feels divine. Gratitude isn't a weakness. It's not pretending everything's perfect. It's power. It's perspective. It's the quiet rebellion against a world built on dissatisfaction. Because when you choose gratitude, you're choosing to step out of survival mode and into awareness. You stop fighting life and start flowing with it. The truth is, you survived things that once felt impossible. You faced storms that almost broke you. And yet here you are, still breathing, still fighting, still growing. That's not luck. That's strength. That's grace. And when you start seeing it that way, your whole world changes. You stop chasing happiness and start feeling it in the ordinary. The warmth of sunlight on your face, the sound of laughter that fills a room, the friend who checks on you, the meal that fills your stomach, the chance to start again. You begin to realize life has been blessing you quietly all along, but gratitude takes practice. It's not automatic. Because the mind is addicted to what's missing. It feeds on comparison, on fear, on what could go wrong. So you have to rewire it daily. That's why gratitude is a habit, not a mood. You don't wait to feel grateful. You train yourself to see reasons to be. Each morning when you wake, you have two choices: to start your day counting problems or counting blessings. One leads to anxiety, the other to peace. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about refusing to let pain blind you to the good that's still there. Because perspective is power. Two people can live the same life. One sees tragedy, the other sees transformation. The difference is not in the events, it's in the eyes that see them. Gratitude gives you those new eyes. It teaches you that even the hardest seasons hold hidden gifts, lessons, growth, resilience, empathy. The storm you cursed yesterday might be the reason you're wiser today. When you practice gratitude, you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That one shift, from complaint to comprehension, is what separates victims from victors. But it offers you everything, if you can see it, because gratitude doesn't change your circumstances, it changes your state of mind, and your state of mind changes how you experience your circumstances. A grateful heart is magnetic. It attracts peace, people, and opportunities because it operates from fullness, not fear. Ungrateful energy repels blessings. It tells the universe, "I don't see the good, I don't value it." And what you don't value eventually leaves. But when you see beauty even in small things, you start to live differently. You speak softer, you smile easier, you complain less, you attract better. Because life mirrors your energy, and gratitude shines like light in a dark world. Sometimes it's easy to be grateful. When money's flowing, when love feels strong, when life is kind. But the real power of gratitude is tested when the world feels cold and unfair. Can you still whisper thank you when life doesn't make sense? Can you still find beauty when the pain feels endless? That's where real growth begins, not in the easy seasons, but in the broken ones. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, it redeems it. It says, even this will serve me somehow. And that mindset transforms everything. Because what you call an obstacle might be the very thing shaping your strength. What you call a delay might be divine protection. What you call loss might be making room for something greater. That's perspective, that's gratitude in motion. It's not just saying thank you when things go right. It's saying thank you while you're still figuring it out. You'll notice that the most peaceful people you meet aren't the ones with perfect lives. They're the ones who've seen darkness and still choose to look for light. They've learned that every sunrise is a second chance. So if you want to rewire your mindset, start small. Each morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It doesn't matter how simple. The more you practice it, the more your brain starts scanning for the good automatically. And one day, without realizing it, you'll look around and feel a quiet peace in your chest. You won't need more to feel enough. You'll stop chasing validation. You'll stop comparing timelines. You'll stop waiting for someday, because gratitude roots you in now. And now is where life actually happens. The more you give thanks, the more you receive things to be thankful for. That's not magic, it's awareness. It's alignment, because abundance was never about having more. It was about seeing more, the sunset, the breath in your lungs, the lessons in your pain, the strength that kept you alive. You already have more than you think. You already are more than you think. All it takes is a shift in perspective. Gratitude is that shift, and once you make it, you never go back. That's the beauty of a rewired mind. It stops asking what's missing and starts whispering, "Thank you. This is enough." Chapter 7. The Habit of Purpose and Vision. There's a moment in every life when comfort starts to feel like a cage. You can't explain it, but something inside begins to whisper, there's more than routine, more than survival, more than just getting by. That whisper, that quiet, restless pull in your chest, that's purpose calling. Purpose doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself with trumpets or fireworks. It comes softly, like a heartbeat in the silence, reminding you that you were made for something greater than comfort, fear, or approval. Most people never answer that call. They silence it with distraction, bury it under obligations, and call it being realistic. But deep down, they know there's a life unlived inside them, a version of themselves they were meant to become. The truth is, comfort feels good, but it kills growth. Every dream dies the moment comfort becomes the goal. Because comfort doesn't ask you to evolve. It just asks you to stay the same. And you can't become extraordinary while clinging to ordinary habits. Purpose demands movement. It asks you to walk through fear, to question everything you've been told, and to trust the invisible path that calls your name. See, you weren't created to fit in. You were created to wake up, to challenge what you've accepted as normal, to build something meaningful, to leave a fingerprint on this world that whispers, "I was here." But purpose is not found in grand speeches or lucky breaks. It's found in the quiet moments of decision, when you choose courage over comfort, when you choose growth over fear, when you choose the voice of your heart over the noise of the crowd. Most people wait for clarity before they move, but clarity comes after you move. Purpose reveals itself through action, not through endless overthinking. The first step always feels uncertain. The second feels uncomfortable. But with each step, the fog begins to lift. And one day you realize You've been walking your path all along. Purpose is not a destination, it's a direction. It's not something you find, it's something you build. Every decision, every habit, every act of courage lays another brick on that path. When you live with purpose, you stop measuring life by money, status, or fame. You start measuring it by impact, by how much of your potential you've poured into the world. Because one day, the titles will fade, the applause will stop, the spotlight will move on, and what will remain is the difference you made. That's legacy. And legacy begins with purpose. But to live with purpose, you must first silence the world long enough to hear your own voice. Society will try to sell you dreams that aren't yours, a version of success that doesn't fit your soul. They'll tell you to chase what looks good instead of what feels right. But purpose doesn't live in trends or trophies, it lives in truth. And truth feels like peace, even when it's hard. So pause. Ask yourself, what breaks my heart? What sets my soul on fire? What could I spend my life doing, even if no one clapped for it? Those answers, they're not random, they're your compass. Follow them. Because purpose doesn't always make sense at first. It rarely comes with guarantees. But it always leads you somewhere meaningful. Think about every person who ever changed the world. They didn't do it because it was easy. They did it because they couldn't not do it. They had a vision that burned too bright to ignore. A why that outlived rejection, failure, and doubt. That's what you need. A vision that pulls you forward, even when your fears try to drag you back. Vision is the fuel of purpose. It's the ability to see what doesn't exist yet, to believe in a version of reality that only your faith can touch. When you live with vision, you stop chasing short-term pleasure and start building long-term meaning. You wake up earlier, you think deeper, you surround yourself with people who stretch you. You stop needing validation because your direction gives you confidence. And soon, life begins to rearrange itself around that focus. Opportunities align, the right people appear, the wrong ones fall away. Your energy sharpens, your days feel clearer. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. Because the universe doesn't reward confusion, it rewards clarity. And when you know what you're living for, everything else starts to make sense. But here's the truth most people forget. Purpose isn't about being busy. It's about being intentional. You can fill every hour of your day and still be empty inside. Because without purpose, you're just moving, not progressing. So slow down. Ask yourself, what am I really building? What legacy am I creating with my time? Purposeful living means saying no more often. To distractions, to mediocrity, to the things that drain you. Because every yes to something meaningless is a no to what truly matters. You only get one life. Don't waste it trying to be everything for everyone. Be something real for yourself. The greatest tragedy isn't dying. It's living a life without purpose. A life that never tasted passion, never took risks, never made a dent in the world. But you can change that story. You can wake up tomorrow and decide to live with direction, not distraction. Sure, you can choose to stop waiting for motivation and start moving with intention, because the moment you start living with purpose, you stop needing permission. The world opens up for those who walk with conviction. And when you finally align with your calling, life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like flow. That's the magic of purpose. It transforms chaos into clarity and existence into meaning. So ask yourself tonight, if I weren't afraid, what would I be doing with my life right now? My satellite yours. Just müssten die Nuses. And whatever your answer is, that's where your purpose begins. The rest is just courage.